Greetings, this is the man who pretends to be Charles Darwin, and I just made a video a few minutes ago about the sensitive plant that closed its leaflets up in response to being touched. Here I am, just a few minutes later, at a redbud tree near Tulsa, Oklahoma, and as you can see, these leaves are beautiful and green and heart-shaped. This is the plant that comes out with beautiful pink magenta flowers in the early spring, and then when the flowers fall off, the leaves finish expanding and they reach their full size, and it's such a beautiful green, as everything is during this early spring. Okay, leaves are supposed to be green, right? Well, why would the leaf be any other color, such as, on this same tree, a reddish color? The young leaves that have just opened up are kind of a reddish color, and this was true of all of the leaves when they first came out. And so the question is, why would young leaves often be red? Well, they are always red in species such as the redbud and some other species as well. And there are other species where the leaves, when they're very young and they first open up, are not. So it's difficult to make a generalization. There is a just so story in evolutionary science that says that young leaves are red because they're imitating dead leaves, and that way insects going around looking for something to eat, herbivorous insects, will think, oh, those are dead leaves, so stay away from them. They'll go for the older leaves that are less valuable to the plant. But the young leaves, which have a whole future ahead of them, have to finish expanding and then have a lot of photosynthesis to produce, are protected by this red coloration. Well, I don't know how you prove that, because we would have to come up with genetic engineering to produce maybe some redbud trees whose young leaves are green or whose old leaves are red. Actually, there are some horticultural varieties. We would have to compare them with their herbivore loads to see whether or not the red color does in fact protect young leaves from herbivores. We don't know, and so meanwhile, this is just a just so story. We could say, well, the trees that keep producing leaves for a long period of time, that is the indeterminate leaf producers, that their young leaves would be reddish because they're growing fast. But then this is also true of oak trees, which grow more slowly. For instance, the blackjack oaks have young leaves when they first come out, whether at the beginning of the spring or later in the summer, the leaves that are almost crimson in color. And so it apparently isn't a product of the trees that keep producing leaves all the time, such as redbuds, or those that produce them only at discrete bunches, such as oaks. And then there are some trees in both groups, the ones that produce leaves continuously and the ones that produce leaves in bunches, that have the red color in the young leaves, and some who don't. So at the present time, we don't really have an explanation. As far as I'm aware, the protection from herbivorous insects explanation is the leading one, but as you can tell, there's some questions such as this one that may never be answered. And if you can think of the right sort of experiment to do or the right sort of observations to make in nature, you might be able to answer this question someday. But right now, at least as far as I know, that question remains unanswered. There's a lot of work yet to be done in evolutionary biology. This is Charles Darwin. Tally ho and amen.